Good. All right. Well, welcome everybody to our sustainability session and our sustainability workshop this afternoon. Thanks for being at Leman's. Not on? I think it's on. Oh, he told me to hold it like this. Okay, I got to hold it like this. Got it. This is awkward. Well, again, welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being at Leman's. My name is Ashley McDonald. I'm the Interim Vice President of Sustainability at the National Pork Board, and I'm going to kind of lead the session today between some great speakers that you're going to hear from that is all focused on sustainability, navigating pork sustainability challenge for clients, customers, and more. And we want this to be really interactive, so we'll take questions as you have them. Make sure you raise your hand, because the other thing we need to do is make sure this is all being recorded. So we will need you to speak your question into the microphone here, so we will make sure to get that to you if you have a question. So just make sure we see you. But we're going to go through a couple different speakers today, and I just wanted to first kind of run through that agenda with you so you saw where we were going today. So first, I'm just going to give a quick overview of the National Pork Board's vision of a tool that we have piloted and now have deployed officially over the last year, and talk about what we hope to accomplish with that tool. And then we're going to also talk about the report itself. We call this the We Care Your Farm report, and we're going to dive into that report in depth throughout the course of the workshop. We have a producer here who has gone through the process. He's going to be interviewed by my colleague as well, and talk about his experience through that process. And again, we're going to, then the next couple we're going to really dive into them a little bit more so that you all know that in the end, you know what's involved. You know everything that if you're talking to a client, if you're a producer yourself and are interested, that you know exactly what you're getting into, and you know exactly why the National Pork Board has invested producer checkoff dollars into this program and what it can do ultimately for the industry as we think about sustainability. We do have a break built in here, so if you can hold out till 2:40, we'll take a quick break for about 20 minutes, assuming we can stay on time, and then we'll dive back into it a little bit more about how we plan for the future and think about continuous improvement, because that is the mantra of sustainability, is continuous improvement over time. And then we're going to finish with a hot topic, which is carbon markets, and talk about how these We Care Your Farm reports, as well as other programs and efforts of National Pork Board, and look at the whole landscape of the carbon programs that are out there. And we're going to have an expert talk to you about what is out there, what are the challenges, and what are some of the hopefully maybe the solutions in the long term. So that's what we're going to go through today. So hopefully you stick with us through that and have lots of questions. But it's going to be an exciting workshop. I'm excited. Again, that is me, Ashley McDonald. And I want to start with just talking to you guys about why sustainability. Sustainability, obviously you've probably heard it a lot, the term, but we don't talk a lot about what it is really and then why. And what I have up there are a few just, Google searches worth of sustainability, the pork industry, right? And these are the things that come up. You have Tyson Food plants mark zero waste to landfill milestone. JBS will use blockchain technology to enhance conservation of the Amazon. Hormel Foods announces new regenerative agriculture initiatives. Warren Buffett faces renewed climate change challenge by investors. Can carbon capture be part of the climate solution? And finally, Goldman Sachs is being investigated over ESG funds. And so you can tell maybe by those last couple, especially the Warren Buffett one, the Goldman Sachs, this is not just a trend. This is a pretty significant, pretty weighty topic that has a lot of influential people as well as dollars behind it. And so that's one of the things that I do want to impress upon you. This is something I think in our producer community can be frustrating. The topic can be frustrating and met with a lot of skepticism. And if you think about it, and a lot of times maybe doubt that it is a long-term issue that we have to make sure we meet head on. And instead, if you look at the dollars going towards it and the increasing amount of dollars and the questions, and even as much so as investigations over ESG filings, those are pretty serious topics, and I think show that that is why the industry has to meet the challenge, has to step up and actually be very on the offensive and make sure that we have all the tools available. And so that's one of the reasons we do this. And ultimately, because it matters to us in the end, because we are charged with representing the U.S. pork industry and ultimately making sure pork stays on the plate of both here with our U.S. consumers as well as abroad. And these questions are coming up with consumers as well as with either governments around the world or maybe their conservation groups around the world. And we need the tools and the information to actually be able to answer those questions. So ultimately, how we sum it up, the way you get to public trust, maintaining it and growing it over time, is to have our We Care platform that we have based our sustainability program on for over a decade now. That's based on principles and then practices identified and then proof. And then that's how you get to maintaining and growing public trust. And where we're at today is really that burgundy-ish purple color, the proof point. How do we provide quantifiable, verified proof that we are doing good things today, as well as showing our progress and being able to demonstrate our progress over time into the future? And so that's what we have focused a lot of these efforts on. And it's not something necessarily that's new. I mentioned over a decade ago, we started the We Care platform. So pork producers have done a great job in showing leadership in this space. And being involved in other proteins in the past, I'd say, the top leader in this space. Because we have come from setting a platform, identifying 6 ethical principles that everything is based off of, to then starting to develop tools that actually pull information back, right? And utilize the systems that we have to be actually able to prove what we're talking about. So we started in 2020, we get down there to setting goals, and 2021 finalizing those goals for the industry. And that's really where we are today. We have a set of goals. We have metrics. Now, how do we start to talk about, are we achieving those goals? Are we making progress toward those goals? So where are we headed? I like to sum up, we are in Minnesota, right, Dale? So we have to have a quote, a hockey quote. The U.S. pork industry is concentrated on skating to where the puck is going, not skating to where it has been or even where it is right now, right? We want to meet the challenges. We want to have the information before everyone gets there. So great quote by Wayne Gretzky. And so to put it in perspective, what we want to do, these Your Farm reports are a piece of the bigger picture of what all the programs are designed to do, which is ultimately on far side to develop a U.S. pork industry sustainability report that tells each group of stakeholders, answers their questions for them, right? And to show progress over time. And if you think about it, how we're trying to design it is we have an application where all this information is housed, and we get that information going back to the left even further. We get that information from existing data sources, like one of them we're going to demonstrate today, the Your Farm reports. So that's how it fits into the overall approach that I think is really important to try to make sure we're going to dive into the weeds of the We Care Your Farm reports. But just know that the reason for them then too is they can empower the producer at the operation level, but we can use that information to tell the industry story at large, because that's how we have to answer the questions that are being asked of us. So I'm going to quickly tell you what we see, as an organization, as the industry organization, the value of these reports, and pull out some things for you. As I mentioned a couple times now, we're going to dive into the very specific pieces of them with Miss Ann over here in a little bit, but and with Chris. But I want to just go through a little bit of the program. We started back in 2019 piloting this program with a few producers to see how well it worked, how our producers responded. And so we've had a couple years now under our belt and expanded the program really in Iowa, Minnesota, and then, now we're up to not 17, but probably 20-ish states that have producers utilizing these reports. So we have moved beyond kind of pilot status, and now we're trying to open it up and to make sure that every pork producer in the country can get into this system. So what are they? So they look like this, and you're gonna get a copy in a little while. So don't worry, don't try to read anything on here. It's obviously too small, but you'll get a copy of a report like this. This is an aggregated report of kind of just a quarterly update that we work with sustainable environmental consultants on this project, and so they give us this report each quarter. Right now, or this one, sorry, we're well past this now, but of the 112 operations that are in there, it gives you the outcomes like conservation practices by acres, and then talks about the economics of utilization of manure, which is a huge topic for our producers, of course, with input prices as they are, of course, and you can see, the laser does work. You can see the significant savings, and this is just 112, right? We're already at $5.9 million in savings compared to artificial fertilizer prices. That's a big deal for producers. Coming down here, you see what's probably some of the coolest things to share is for those 112 operations that are in this aggregated report, their net GHG emissions are negative 0.29 tons per acre. So what does that mean? That's climate positive or carbon negative, whichever way you want to phrase it, but good for the planet. Carbon sequestered, of course, similarly, and then soil erosion rate. That's a big one. I think that's a big, huge story about these reports. If you look, the national average is 4.6 tons per acre. And everybody in the 112 operations that are in this report have 0.92 tons per acre of soil erosion. So that's a huge difference. That's a powerful story too, and it relates to manure utilization, right? We can tell the soil health story, which if you have been involved in sustainability conversations, soil health is a huge, huge part of that conversation. So being able to say that our producers utilize organic manure that builds soil structure, and ultimately we can show that the outcomes of that is a lower erosion rate over time. Okay, so right now, so I showed that aggregated report. I had 112. We have around more than 330 farms involved in it, which equates to 200,000 acres and around 2 million pigs in the system right now. And so we're working to get those complete. It's on a crop year basis, so we're working on the 2021 crop year in the calendar year 2022. And any pork producer in the United States that pays checkoff dollars is eligible to receive the report. So, and it's already up on our website, of course, so porkcheckoff.org. If you or anybody you know, clients especially, want to get involved in the program. It is a powerful story overall, but we know that it can be improved, continuously working on it. We know that it highlights a lot about what goes on in the field, and we're expanding it into the barn as we speak. We have a carbon footprint calculator that was also producer checkoff dollars were utilized to develop. And that's being incorporated into this process as we speak. We also know that, and Dr. Ingram will talk about this a lot more later, but we know because so many producers are interested in carbon programs, we're strategizing on how these reports can kind of move into that next phase and provide producers with a little bit more value about how can they be involved? How can they help producers in the carbon program space? So we're working on that as well. Increasing the technical assistance provided through sustainable environmental consultants through this process, and we'll talk more about that. And then probably the newest exciting thing is we were one of the 70 programs awarded federal dollars last week to specifically on this program to now pay for practice implementation costs. So you're going to hear from Dale in a little bit, but if Dale wants to, let's say he wants to put some cover crops on where he does not have cover crops currently, then some of those costs could be covered by the federal government through the National Pork Board's program. So exciting. It was exciting last week. Some of you in the room may have been part of other proposals that also got funded through the Secretary of Agriculture's announcement. But ultimately, and why we even applied for that grant, is because we have to start pulling in the data. And this is one of those tools that not only pulls in data so that we can tell the industry story, but also now each producer has their own data compiled in a concise 2-page report that then they can take and actually utilize with really anybody, right? They can market their product a little differently if they want. They could go to lenders, go to legislators, whatever they want to utilize. It's a tool to empower them to be able to understand, know what they already have, know the potential if they want to practice change, and then ultimately can put that on the ground. And we can provide, hopefully, some of the services to help them get there in a low burden way and low cost way as well. So that is the program. We do know that at its core, it is a tool, right? And these tools are only as good as the data and research underlying them. And I know many of you in this room will appreciate this, but there's a lot of research going on at the National Pork Board and other places that, again, all these tools are built on. And so we have to continue to provide those good scientific research programs as well. So you can see some of the programs that our team at the National Pork Board works on, including air quality research, water quality research, soil health research, nutrient cycling research, depopulation and disposal research, as well as other research. So that continues to be a focus of ours as well. And then trying to deploy that research and that knowledge into these tools over the long term so that they can maintain and keep up with the times, because that is a challenge as well, is making sure that they maintain the high bar of scientific integrity. So with that, I'll bring you back to this one more time and just say that our vision at the National Pork Board of what this program is again a tool to empower not only the producer but also the industry to be able to tell our story more effectively over time. Okay, and with that, you want to hit stop record? We are going to move to